What if Naruto was a god and neglected starts now. The god sprang out of nothingness. The first and only one in the universe for many, many years. And over the years, civilization did begin, of course only under his command. With immense power and knowledge like no other, he became bored over the years. So he searched for a planet that might give him some thrills. Earth was the one he chose. So he reincarnated himself into Kushina and Minato's child. Coincidentally, this was on the same night as the Nine Tails attack. In this timeline, Kushina and Minato had triplets. Naruto, well, the god for now, being born as the last one. They were all named one after the other. First was Menma, the oldest brother. Then Mito, the middle child, the sister. And then last one was Naruto, a god reincarnated without his memories. However, because he is born last, Naruto is most likely not the child of prophecy. And the child of prophecy is, much more likely, Menma or Mito. And according to that, more like referencing that, Naruto gets most of the Nine Tails, since Menma and Mito are supposed to be pure souls, and grow up pure. However, the only reason Minato and Kushina are actually able to seal the Nine Tails chakra into their children is due to Naruto's aura, which he is completely unaware of and therefore not controlling it. Naruto's aura, or at least the god's aura, is able to give people power and intellect like they've never seen before. They're pretty unaware of it, though it does give a boost of adrenaline too. However, the results fade away slowly. So just after a week, Minato and Kushina are like they've always been before, but now with triplets and alive. So yes, Kushina is going to survive the Nine Tails attack, and Minato is too. As their children grew older, Minato and Kushina only had eyes for Menma and Mito, for one of them was the supposed child of prophecy, perhaps even both of them. Naruto was completely left out, whilst Menma, the oldest triplet, was celebrated as a hero for not yet having done anything, just because he was the most likely to become the child of prophecy. Though Mito was too, she was celebrated especially amongst the female shinobi, for she also had a good chance at becoming the one and only child of prophecy. And some even thought that both of them would grow up to become the child of prophecy. That both of them would grow up and save the world hand in hand. Though in everybody's opinion, no matter where they came from, or what kind of relationship they had to Minato's family, the Hokage's family, or the Children of Prophecy, they never believed in Naruto. Not even the Ichiraku shop, which is so loved by everyone. And Ichiraku himself is thought to be one of the kindest people in the entire village. Not even he likes Naruto. We find ourselves 5 years later, as we see Menma and Mito discovering a bug from the Abirami clan, which has an almost deadly sting, a torturous one. And because everyone, even the Abirami clan, hates Naruto, they allowed Menma and Mito to test the bug out on Naruto. So they let the bug loose on Naruto's body. And right as the bug started to insert its venom into Naruto's veins, all of them started to become red. Naruto looked like he had a rash all over his body and was gasping for air. The bug, at the same time as inserting its venom, also sucked out the chakra of its victim. Even though Naruto was sleeping, Menma and Mito had just pulled a prank that would last for days. Naruto was in pure agony, sometimes awake, but then immediately knocked out due to the immense pain right after. His body extremely weak, though somehow staying alive. Due to the smell of the venom, the bug, and Naruto's body, Menma and Mito carried him outside and laid him on the streets. Nobody who walked past him wanted to help. None of the Chunin, Jonin, nobody. After about the 5th day, Naruto actually woke up. And this time it's different than before. He can't seem to feel any more pain. He can see that his body's completely torn up. However, he can't feel a thing from the bug. So he pulls himself together and removes the bug from his skin. Because he was so out of chakra and energy, he had to crawl through the streets until he was at his supposed home, where he opened the door, was finally able to stand up again, and all he saw was his family eating dinner like any other day, but without him. This was truly an eye-opening experience for Naruto because he saw how little his family truly cared about him. When asked what they were doing, Minato just made an excuse that it was training for Naruto to get stronger, perhaps to keep up with Menma and Mito. But everyone in the room, even Naruto, who was still pretty arrogant, knew that that was a complete and utter lie. He has been left on the streets because everyone hated him. Even his father, his mother, his sister, and his brother. He already did, but from now on, Naruto really has a strong dislike for both of his siblings, and especially his father, who he knew could have done something against them, but decided not to. Kushina is not as hateful towards Naruto, and whilst she won't do anything explicitly nice to him, she won't hit him, verbally abuse him, or anything of the sort. Kushina is the kindest person that Naruto knows. However, she doesn't speak up about anyone else's actions. However, that's enough for Naruto. Even though she doesn't do anything more to stop other people from being hateful and mean towards him, she does not follow that behavior, which is better than he could have hoped for anyone else. Now we see Menma and Mito having training with Jiraiya. And Mito will soon have training with Tsunade, however, right now, she's not in the village. However, Minato and Jiraiya are currently working on trying to come up with a plan and convincing Tsunade to come to the village to train the Child of Prophecy, or perhaps the Children of Prophecy. And even if not that, it would still strengthen the village, and perhaps make the people in it more happy, including Tsunade. Naruto is currently walking along the streets, not talking to anyone, not looking at anyone, looking down at the dirt. Thinking about how the dirt even is treated better than Naruto is. Naruto has by far the smallest room in the house, even smaller than average room for normal people. With normal, I mean people who are not the Hokage's children. Monthly allowance? Huh. Not for him. Menma and Mito have, well, turned into dollars, about $100 a month. But Naruto has nothing. And whilst Menma and Mito have friends such as Kiba, Sasuke, Ino, and Sakura, Naruto has no friends. Not even Ichiraku, commonly thought of the nicest person all around. Until one day, when a young otsutsuki girl, who was sent by her clan to check up on Earth and Kaguya and Ishiki, for they'd taken much longer than they should have, came to planet Earth. And immediately, before even landing on Earth, she sensed Naruto's immense potential. But not any otsutsuki, only very, very faint otsutsuki DNA inside most humans. Which is why, because she was already there and had been traveling for a few years now, she was at least gonna stay and talk to Naruto, since otsutsukis are often attracted to power. However, she was a little different. She was much more emotional than most people in her clan. And even though she was very powerful for her age, even she was surprised at Naruto's incredible potential. She visited the village, in the sense that she just walked into the village, as a supposed guest, a traveler. and saw Naruto coincidentally walking on the streets. However, he was looking extremely sad and depressed, which made sense when she got to talk to him. And that was even more reason for her, Shiro, to want to talk and live with Naruto. By the way, that's her name, Shiro Otsutsuki. And Naruto accepted her offer. However, there was just one problem. None of them had money. However, after asking Naruto about how normal people get money here, she had an idea since she was very smart and very powerful, at least in comparison to normal humans. She overheard some ninjas on the streets talking about a really difficult mission, an A rank. Naruto told her that that was the hardest one. And funny enough, they gave enough info out so that people hearing it could complete the mission on their own. She knew where, who, and what. So on that same evening, she did. She completed the mission on her own. Then she went to the Hokage's office, which she had been told is the leader of the Leaf Village, and then dropped the heads of the 3 mercenaries who were terrorizing small villages near the big Leaf Village, and dropped their heads on Minato's desk. Minato was shocked and couldn't get a word out. This little girl, pale white-haired girl, just dropped 3 A-rank ninjas' heads on his table without even being told the mission. So now, an Anbu team had been sent out for absolutely no reason. And it wasn't just any Anbu team, it was a very, very strong one, with Kakashi on it, one of the most powerful Anbus. They bought a small apartment with the money that was given to Shiro for completing the A-rank mission on her own. After that, Naruto told his family that he was moving out. However, they didn't care. They were actually pretty happy that he was gone. They hated him. However, the only one concerned was Kushina. Kushina wanted to know where he was going, how he was going to afford it, and if she could visit him. She truly didn't want him to go. However, she knew that it would be best for both of them. Naruto would not have to endure such torture anymore, and Kushina could, well, she would try to live a normal life, if that was even possible anymore. She knew that she was a terrible mother, and her husband a terrible father. However, there was little she could do. It was too late. Naruto told her that she would soon learn where he was, and could visit him too. However, that in due time. Shiro was permitted to stay in the Leaf Village after having completed an A-rank mission due to her immense strength. From now on, she was getting a steady income from doing missions, helping on missions, and sometimes even doing missions on her own that she wasn't even ordered to do, to get more money, so she would, for example, not have to work for a whole month, just because she worked a little extra. Whilst it was pretty annoying for Minato and the others that she was working with, it was kind of good too. Some of them could take a week off just cause Shiro was working extra hard for a while. And the Leaf Village's reputation also went up. It was good for everybody. After about 3 years, Naruto was now at the age ready to go to the academy. During this time, Shiro had helped Naruto train, however not with any fancy jutsus, mostly just with physical strength, intelligence, and a little bit of chakra control. So just the basics for him to truly have a lot of success later on. For example, Naruto by now had an incredible six-pack and incredible physique, and could tree and water walk with ease. He also learned some battle smarts, and some theoreticals about stuff like kunai and shuriken. Now Naruto was on to start his first day at the academy, towards his first step of becoming a shinobi. He was first in the classroom even before the teacher, and therefore could choose his seat. Since he didn't want to interact with anybody, he sat in the very back and in the very far of the right, in the corner that nobody really paid attention to. And he would still be able to look down on the board and see what's going on. It was the perfect spot for him. When everybody came in later, one by one, they all had a little bit of disgust. They had a look of disgust when looking at Naruto, who was already there. Even the teacher did. But first, introductions were in order, and the whole class did. First was Iruka though. Iruka did, and then one-on-one, the students did as well. They introduced themselves. However, Iruka purposely skipped Naruto as the last one, and no one minded. So, with skipping Naruto, because everyone already knew who he was and didn't really care, they continued and started the first day of the academy for real. Over the months and years, Naruto was never allowed to ask any questions during class time, because neither the teachers nor the students ever listened to him or cared about him. Which is why Shiro and Naruto's bond grew even closer, because they spent all their times together. Naruto kept training more and more, harder and harder, and now even working on some jutsus and chakra control. However, also on basics like kunai throwing and shuriken and basic physique. At this point, it's about halfway through Naruto's academy life, about 2 years after the beginning, and Naruto seemed more depressed than ever. Neither the teachers nor the students, not even the people on the streets or their parents, cared about him whatsoever. No one wanted to be his friends. Even the smallest children knew that he was evil. At this point, Shiro wanted to do something good for Naruto, so she went to Minato and asked him if she could perhaps do something different. She didn't mention Naruto at all, since she knew that Minato hated Naruto over anything. However, Minato luckily offered a position as an academy teacher for Shiro, and she quickly accepted. And, best thing of all, she was going to be put in as Naruto's teacher in Menma and Mito's class, because Minato thought that Menma and Mito could learn a lot from such a powerful shinobi, as Shiro was one of the most powerful Jonin there were. Yes, she is now a Jonin. A lot of people who know her considered her to be the strongest Kunoichi, perhaps even the strongest shinobi, even among people as strong as Guy or Kakashi. Their normal teacher, Iruka, became a normal Chunin who went on missions again, since he didn't really like being a teacher anymore. He wanted to have some action once more. So the switch was permanent now. Shiro was going to be a teacher at the academy. Students came into the classroom as normal and sat down in their usual seats. There was some whispering about why Iruka was so late, and some people even suspected that a new teacher would come, such as Shikamaru, who was believed to be the smartest in the class. And then there was Choji, who didn't think much of it. But then, whilst the discussions were in the highest, Shiro walked in. Everybody was stunned by her beauty. Her long silky hair, her beautiful pale skin, and her eyes, so white they could even be mistaken for a Byakugan of the Hyuga clan. However, Naruto was the most surprised out of everybody. She didn't tell him that he was going to be his new teacher. She wanted to surprise him, and she did surprise him indeed. Naruto was very surprised, and also very happy. Perhaps now the teachers would respect Naruto a little more, even if it was just Shiro. She said hello, introduced herself, and then wanted everybody else to introduce themselves as well, because she didn't know anybody, except for Naruto, of course, but she didn't say that. So the students started, one by one, from the front to the back. All the boys in the class tried to make themselves look cool and brag to everyone of how strong they were, how skilled and smart. And now it was Naruto's turn. Nobody expected him to say anything, because he was always skipped, and never given a chance to talk. However, when nothing came, Shiro asked, "You in the back there, what's your name?" "Naruto, I presume?" Everybody looked back and was surprised. Everybody knew his name, but nobody expected them to talk. Why would this beauty talk to a demon? "What the hell are you doing?" Menma shouted across the room. "Because we have to be nice to everyone, you see," Shiro responded in a calm tone. Shiro only looked about 2 or 3 years older than the people she was teaching, which is why Menma didn't have a kind of teacher-to-student respect, but just respect to someone who he knew was more powerful and smarter, and a tiny bit older. "Can't we just kick him out of the class?" Mito asked. And everybody started nodding and agreeing, saying, "Yeah, let's just kick him out. My dad is the Hokage. I can just ask him and it'll be done. I wonder why it hasn't happened before." "Stop!" Shiro said, with now an angry look at her face. "We're not gonna kick anyone out of this class, understood? If anything, you guys should be getting attention for what kind of mess you're making. You're making people upset, and it's not okay. Did you understand me?" The wood underneath Shiro's feet started to break and bend. People in the class were very scared now. She had an ominous aura. Nobody knew much about her, except for now her name, which was Shiro. She looked pretty much their age, but seemed to be much more experienced and stronger. The school continued on, and now Naruto wouldn't get bullied by the teachers as much. Shiro was very popular amongst the students and teachers, both for her good looks, kind attitude, and more. Everybody loved when Shiro was teaching. She made it easy to understand, and everybody just couldn't get enough from her. She was like the perfect teacher and girl. Mito developed a crush on her, but it was very obvious, at least for her, that she didn't have feelings towards him back. The only person she had feelings towards was Naruto. However, Naruto was too stupid to understand. Sorry, let me rephrase that. He was too thick-headed to understand. Not stupid, he was pretty smart, but not when it comes to love. 2 years of teaching was enough for Minato, and so he wanted Shiro to go back to the ranks of being a shinobi, especially Konoichi, and to go back out there and do missions, since without her, the shinobi ranks just didn't seem filled. And whilst the village didn't lose its reputation, it just wasn't the same without Shiro. Shiro was known far and wide for anybody who wanted a mission done, even people who weren't even close to the village hidden in the leaves, such as people from other villages, such as the Sand or the Cloud, knew that Shiro was the person to do everyone's missions, even if it wasn't hers. And so Minato wanted Shiro to return as a Jonin. But since now she had some teaching experience, she could perhaps take on a Genin team. So now, Genin teams would be picked, but first, Genin exams had to be passed. For that to happen, people would need to be able to throw kunai or shuriken, do a clone jutsu, and so on. And of course, a written exam, which no one looked forward to. When all was said and done, everybody passed, and yes, even Naruto. And one of the only reasons he did was because Shiro was the one conducting the tests, because she didn't want anyone to have a bias against Naruto, which everyone did, so she volunteered to do the proctoring for the exams. Now, Genin team leaders would be chosen. Team number 7 in this story is kind of weird, because Team 7 usually has one of the older students as the new team leader, but in this case, it's not. Shiro is the team leader. However, unlike you might have expected, the students are Menma, Mito, and Sasuke. Or as sometimes I like to call him, Sasuke. Now, anyways, they are Team 7. Kakashi is now Team 8. And yeah, I think Asuma is normal Team 8, so he's going to be moved up to Team 9. And so on. Naruto is in Kurenai's team, Team 6, along with Hinata and Shino. None of the three actually like Naruto. In the opposite, all of them hated Naruto even more than a lot of people in the village, especially Hinata. Kurenai was the first one to enter the class and picked up her 3 new Genin students. She told them all to meet outside at a bench nearby, and they did. Kurenai introduced herself and then explained that tomorrow there is going to be a test where the 3 of them would have to hit her. Well, land a hit on her. And the first 2 to do would stay as the Genin team. The last one would fail and have to go back to the academy. Naruto knew that was contradictory because a Genin team never had less than 3 people, well, less than 3 students and 1 teacher. But he didn't say anything just yet because he knew nobody would listen to him. So, the next day, they started the test at Training Ground 3. Kurenai was even earlier than all 3 of the students. Even though Naruto was half an hour early, Kurenai was already there. They didn't speak a word until about 5 minutes before the supposed meeting time. Naruto said, "I know the secret." Kurenai looked in shock and said, "There's no way, you're lying. A demon like you could never figure something out like that." "I guess you'll just have to see, Sensei," Naruto responded. Then Hinata and Shino, the other 2 Genin, arrived. They made a little plan on their way to the exam. Shino would work from the back, sending bugs and other types of jutsus, as well as kunai. And then Hinata could use her Byakugan and close combat fighting style to wear out and finally land a hit on Kurenai. That way, both of them would pass, and Naruto would have no chance to get on their team. But before they started, Naruto said, "Guys, this is stupid. You know that there's not a single Genin team that has less than 3 Genin, right?" "Don't listen to him," Hinata said. "He's just trying to trick us to get a hit on her first. Just do our plan and we'll succeed, okay?" Shino nodded. "Guys, I'm being serious. I won't even fight, I promise. But this exam is stupid. It's just about teamwork. You know that." "Then don't get in our way. That's teamwork enough, isn't it? Listen, I'll help you, just like Shino, from the back, and then we're all good, okay? Won't do anything else, I promise." "Do what you want, demon. I don't really give a crap either." So they all scattered, Hinata immediately running towards Kurenai for close combat, Shino taking a slower approach, going into the trees, into the woods, and going there for a little bit of hideout, to then send tactical bugs from all directions, and wear out, and finally destroy their opponent. Naruto did something similar. Whilst he didn't go into the woods, he did go a little bit far from the fight, about 50 meters. And then he sent some fireballs, kunais, shuriken, gave directions for Hinata, and so on. At the beginning, she didn't like it at all, being bossed around by such a demon. Later, she didn't mind as much since it was pretty useful, but she still told herself that he was just manipulating her. She had to do what she was doing with Shino, and that's it. Finally, Kurenai started to try to use some Genjutsu on Hinata, because they were pushing her into a corner. Kurenai just used a mild one since she didn't want to scar Hinata at all. However, the Genjutsu didn't seem to work. Naruto once again unconsciously had an aura around him that made only his 2 Genin friends, well, not friends, teammates, stronger. But none of them realized, not even Naruto himself. But Shiro had always noticed. Naruto gives out an aura that makes people more powerful, but only the ones that he has similar goals with, currently doesn't mind or likes, such as Shiro. And in this case, even just for a brief time, Naruto and the other 2 Genin had similar goals, and they set their differences aside. Not completely, but more than they would have at any other point in time. And at this point, whilst Kurenai was completely flabbergasted that the Genjutsu didn't work, Hinata landed 3 hits immediately, almost knocking Kurenai out. This was enough for Kurenai to give up and let the 3 Genin win. And with that, she did confirm that it was actually teamwork, and not just two people hitting her. However, she never said that Naruto was right or anything. She just said that the true goal was actually teamwork, and you passed. Congratulations. You are now Team 6, the Geni team of Konoha. Hinata, Shino, and Kurenai celebrated in the evening, but they didn't invite Naruto. But Naruto didn't mind. Naruto celebrated with Shiro, but Shiro was pretty upset. She didn't like Menma and Mito or Sasuke, and they all were annoying. They weren't even that strong for Hokage's children, and the Uchiha's leader's child. Sasuke's Sharingan was barely developing. Mito's Uzumaki sealed / chakra control was not even close to what she expected. And Menma was just loud and obnoxious. And now Shiro was stuck with them for how long? Probably years? She didn't want to do this anymore. She wanted to go back to being an academy teacher, or just a regular Jonin. She did not want to do this, or, at the very minimum, switch to Naruto's team. That would make both of them happy. She let out her frustrations, and on the next day, she seemed a little better. Naruto seemed to make her happy, even if the situations looked dire and sad. Naruto was the spark of light in her eyes, and Shiro was the one in Naruto's. They motivated each other perfectly, and even made each other stronger, whilst Naruto subconsciously and mentally made Shiro stronger, and Shiro made Naruto actually physically stronger, such as with jutsus and training, and intellect of course, because Shiro was very knowledgeable, and with being a teacher, she knew everything that Naruto had to learn and would have to learn in the future. And of course, you can't underestimate her battle experiences that she had working for Minato himself as a Jonin for 5 years straight. Of course, Shiro's team passed, and so Team 6, 7, 8, and all the teams that we know and love finally started with actual missions. All of them enjoyed it quite a bit, except for Naruto. Naruto found it boring, although Menma, Mito, and Sasuke did too. Nobody really liked doing D-rank missions. They were way too easy, and boring as well. There was no action, it was just like chores. It was super boring, annoying. Which is why Menma and Mito asked Minato if they could get a harder mission with some actions. And funny enough, Tazuna, the bridge builder, was there and did request some backup to escort him to his village for him to build a bridge there. And without batting an eye, Minato sent off Shiro and her Genin team, Menma, Mito, and Sasuke. Their mission was to escort Tazuna, the bridge builder, to his village and then protect him for him to build his bridge. However, the team learns that they were going to encounter more difficulties than they thought they would on their journey. Team 7 was now sent out on their first C-rank mission with Shiro as their team leader. So, they called for backup, and they arrived 1 day later. Team 7 now had their first interaction with Zabuza, the demon of the mist. Not with Haku though, because Shiro, to be honest, couldn't be bothered to fight. So, basically just went how the normal canon fight, with Kakashi at his disposal. Yes, you heard right, ladies and gentlemen, Haku is a girl, almost like a dictator, but under aggressive rule, and with money. When Team 6 arrived in the Land of Waves, in the village that Tazuna and Team 6 were staying at, as her mission for her. So Team 6 is sent by Minato himself to help Team 7 on their journey. Shiro gave Naruto a big hug, which surprised everyone. Everybody sits down inside Tazuna's house, and Shiro explains the situation to everyone. Menma, Mito, and Sasuke try to help and fight, but then they left, with Haku supposedly taking Zabuza in. Shiro or Naruto had never really shown their close relationship in public, especially not in the classroom, so no one was really aware of it. Village. Because Tazuna didn't want to lie about the difficulty of the mission any longer, and he told them that there was gonna be likely B or even A ranked shinobi, some perhaps even Jonin level, due to Gato, a mafia boss that wanted to control the village and stop its trading route. I'll train too, I guess, she says. Because the better chakra control she has, the stronger and more precise her jutsus are. On the next day, Hinata and Naruto train their Shiro as their sensei. Hinata first learns to tree walk and then water walks, to also train her jutsu. And also each clone has more physical strength than a normal shadow clone, which can come in handy for training and fighting. She explains that there are stronger shinobi than expected in the mission, even some Jonin level shinobi. She also suggests that some genin could train, whilst one sensei and perhaps 4 genin guard the bridge. In case something happens, the people training are nearby and ready to help if needed. However, God-style clones do take up quite a bit of chakra, including her Byakugan and Fist style, which that's enough training for today, since tree walking and water walking takes quite a while, even though Hinata is a fast learner, especially with her Byakugan. This was a surprise to everyone, since no one was expecting anyone to be willing to train with a demon. But in truth, Hinata, whilst she didn't mind Naruto, she didn't hate him as much as everybody else, especially after learning that he's actually not that bad of a guy during the Genin exams with their sensei. First, Shiro volunteers to train, and then Naruto does too immediately after. Then, quietness comes. Whilst everybody wants to train with Shiro, since she's strong, smart, and so on, and beautiful of course, no one wants to train with Naruto. No one. After about 20 seconds of silence, Hinata slowly raises her hand, unsure of the situation. However, then, Shiro has an idea. She knows that there is the Nine Tails inside of Naruto, and they've never really talked about it. But perhaps now would be a good time to go into more detail for Naruto to what he can actually do with this power inside of him. And due to her otsutsuki being, she can also harness and control the QB's chakra much easier than a human can. And even without hand seals or jutsus, she can control them with her will. And since she is an otsutsuki, Shiro knows quite a lot about tailed beasts. I mean, mostly about the 10 tails, which is much stronger than 9 tails, but she still has quite more knowledge than Naruto does. And of course, she was a Jonin, so yeah, comes with the territory. Since the Sage of Six Paths was half otsutsuki, and Shiro is a full otsutsuki, so there is some similarities in the chakra, and Kurama hasn't felt just chakra like this in ages. Naruto is so, with 2 quick hand seals, Shiro put Naruto in a Genjutsu type sleep, where he woke up in front of a huge cage. This was Kurama, the Nine-Tailed Fox, now ready to try to talk to Kurama, and perhaps come to an agreement to work hand in hand. And although that's not the kind of bond that Shiro knew, she knew that it'd be better for Naruto to work together instead of control his Nine Tails. Each of his clones first do 250 push-ups, including the real Naruto by the way, since him doing the work with the shadow clones gives about an extra 50% efficiency, which is a lot if you think about it. Then all of them water walk, about 1 kilometer in a circle, keep running, some throw kunai along the way, some do hand seals, etc. Then, all of them go back on land and throw kunai at trees and targets that were set up whilst doing backflips, kind of like Shisui and Itachi's training whilst they were younger. He said, "Well, what are you here for then? And what was that chakra I felt?" And of course, Shiro continued with theoretical training, explaining more about the tailed beasts and their chakra. "Well then, I'm willing to comply. I'll give you chakra as I see fit. However, don't expect too much. And don't come begging back to me when you need something, yeah? Alright, see ya." "Father? Is that you?" Kurama asked. "No, I'm sorry to say, I'm not your father. But I am your Jinchuriki. If that's any better." "Oh, I see." Kurama. Shiro kind of shows and lets through her chakra and aura into Naruto and Kurama to make him obey. And it works. Kurama is shocked. This chakra is so strong. Stronger than Madara, one of the strongest people he ever knew. Except for, of course, his father. And this chakra is, for some reason, similar to his father, Sage of Six Paths, which is also his creator. She can funnel chakra much easier than other people, and has more experience with it. However, since Naruto already knows how to tree walk and water walk, that's nothing for him to train. So he makes a bunch of god-style clones. These are somewhat similar to shadow clones, and have that similar effect where if the clone trains, you get some of that experience, knowledge, power, etc. And whilst he was training one day, this earlier by the way, he realized that he has some type of Kekkei Genkai, and a unique type of clones that is not written anywhere else. But they're incredible. They're stronger than shadow clones, in the sense that they can resist 3 hits instead of the normal 1 hit. And it doesn't even matter how strong, powerful that hit is. 3 hits, and then the god-style clones go away, not before that. Menma was cocky as ever, and immediately rushed in with a kunai, but immediately was thrown to the ground by Zabuza with one quick punch. By just looking at Naruto now, it was kind of weird that everybody hated him, but he was a demon. She had an inner conflict. She kind of liked Naruto, of course as a friend, but at the same time, she was told for years that he's a demon, so it had to be true, right? She wasn't sure, but she couldn't tell anyone for now. And with that, Naruto was kicked out of his own mindscape by Kurama himself. It went kind of successful, I guess. Naruto explained what happened, and Shiro is pretty happy. Kurama and Naruto, even if not as strong or good one, they had some type of bond, and some similarities too. So, they were happy for that. Then Naruto continued with his normal training. At this point, because of his adrenaline, Naruto unconsciously was using some of Kurama's chakra to enhance his clones as well as his own skills. On the second last day, Naruto, Hinata, and Menma and Mito were guarding the bridge with Shiro. At this point, nothing really had happened, so they didn't think there would be much. However, this was the day. At this point, when what seemed like an instant, Zabuza and Haku immediately stood right in front of the team. Not really team. Shiro had now a grim face, and Naruto was ready for a fight to prove himself to everyone. Over their 2 days of training, Hinata and Naruto did bond quite a bit, even though they didn't really talk. They saw each other train, and saw each other's skills, strengths, and weaknesses, which could be very good for teamwork and missions. Especially Hinata, seeing how Naruto trained very much. He was good at what he did, even better than Hinata herself. He was smart, strong, and good looking, if I do say so myself. Kurama let it for now, but wouldn't want to get it out of control, since Naruto is basically a new Jinchuriki. He's not experienced at all. But immediately, Naruto and his clones went in for a fight, some with kunai, some with jutsus, and some just with their fists. Some threw fireballs from the back, some froze the bridge underneath their feet. Naruto, right after that, made clones, so nobody would see. He made about 10 god-style clones, each one spreading out. Some went under the bridge, some went behind Zabuza and Haku, and they were so fast, the other Genin couldn't even see or sense them. And some seemed to control the weather, throwing lightning, wind, and more, which he did train to do. She senses that both of them are using the skills that they learned. Shiro for now is taking a backseat and wants to see what they do, and wants to see how strong those two really are, and how strong they've gotten. I'm sorry to say that Chakra was only my friend, but I'm here to talk. We haven't talked ever, and it's time. I'm asking you to lend me your power, become one. I can tell you're very strong on your own, and you have potential to become, well, a god of shinobi, as they call him. So why would you need my help? I'm a demon after all, ain't I? Well, I am too, Naruto explains. The village has been hating me for many, many years. Just like they have you. So I guess we have that similar. Well, well, well. If it isn't humans bullying other humans. What a surprise. Menma went in with a kunai once more, and Mito was trying to back him up. However, it was to no ray. With Naruto letting Hinata deal with Haku, this actually seemed to be a somewhat fair fight. Of course, Menma and Mito had to ruin it all again. By the way, in case you're wondering, Shiro purposely didn't call for reinforcements, which would include Shino, Sasuke, and the other Jonin sensei, Kuranai. Hinata using more precise hits in chakra control, and Naruto using some of the Kyuubi's chakra, and more of his clones. Because she knew that the Genin could handle, especially Naruto and Hinata. And in worst case scenario, Shiro is much more than capable to deal with Zabuza and Haku, even if it is a person that she did not like. Naruto threw a kunai. They were fast and precise. Now all of his clones were heading towards Zabuza, since Haku was still distracted with Hinata, hitting Zabuza's kunai, which then both of them fell to the ground. And this time it was even worse than last time. Zabuza took Mito as a hostage. This was now a bad situation. If he wanted to, Zabuza could end Mito's life in an instant. Even though she didn't like Mito at all, now Shiro was on edge too. She could lose her job, or worse, be expelled from the village. And even if that didn't happen, she would still have very guilty feelings. Zabuza was hit in the shoulder with a kunai, and then fell to the ground. Especially with Naruto's tactics and battle smarts, there was no chance for Zabuza. Hired wannabe shinobi beside him. Destroying him was the only way to truly save the Land of Waves. However, Naruto, even though once more he didn't like Mito, somewhat awakened him. Something awakened. Immediately all his clones seemed to coordinate perfectly, even better than before, without Naruto even having to think about it. They were like a mirror of his self. He wasn't out cold yet, but he did take a massive hit. And at this point, Gato came, the mafia boss himself, with what seemed like 50. He had protection alright, and it would be a whole new battle to get to Gato, since although he had a massive sword and could defend himself against a few opponents, Zabuza had no chance against about 10 clones of Naruto, each one powerful enough to take down perhaps a Chunin level. So Naruto, after only having not even completely knocked out Zabuza, immediately with all of his shadow clones headed for Gato, and even made 5 more, since he knew he would need it. It was as if Naruto was weather himself. He controlled natural disasters. It was a fierce battle. But Naruto could not win against Haku and Zabuza together, at least not right now. However, Naruto's aura was unconsciously giving strength to Hinata and Shiro. And yes, a little bit Hinata. Again, not exactly because they had a good friendship, but he liked her much more than anybody else, including his sensei, and so on. So, Hinata gets some strength. So, she can actually do something. She activates her Byakugan and wants to go in for a fist fight with Haku, who's clearly the weaker one. Shiro made sure that Zabuza wouldn't get up again, but he didn't seem to have the will to fight anymore. Hinata was still busy fighting against Haku, but right now, she was winning, and almost finishing the fight, since the only reason he was doing this in the first place was to get paid. But if Gato was now gonna bite the dust, there was no way he was gonna fight more, especially for an inexperienced fighter like Naruto. All of them had pretty different fighting styles, but nonetheless, all 3 of them were very powerful. Killing Intent and the Kyuubi's chakra is finally able to overwhelm the others. However, now being pushed to the limit, with more adrenaline, his aura had also grown stronger every second that it was on. Naruto and his clones took out one henchman after the other, and soon there was only Gato left. At this point, he was almost begging for mercy, until Naruto realized that there are more. These were 3 truly strong shinobi. Not completely on Zabuza's level, but they were definitely low Jonin. Had no will to fight, so they both surrendered. And now, he was about double the speed, and double the strength that he was when he was fighting Zabuza. He was truly a menace. At this point, Naruto was now fighting 3 low Jonin fighters, and this fight lasted longer than all of the 50 henchmen together, since these 3 were truly rather powerful. One had an axe-like weapon, the other a katana, and the other one was just fighting with fists and jutsus. So, she wasn't sure how, but somehow she wanted to be near Naruto. Perhaps go back to the village? Although she was basically a criminal, so that wasn't really an option. But Shiro was willing to comply. Talk to Zabuza. And there it was. Haku and Zabuza are now part of the village. Well, not completely, but Team 6 and 7 are now going back to the village with Zabuza and Haku. So now it was truly just Gato, which he took out with one quick slice of a kunai. With that, the land of waves was saved from Gato, the evil. And now, Zabuza and Haku... And I have to explain this, Naruto's ability with his aura making people around him stronger is actually pretty broken, because whilst it is making somebody like Hinata right now stronger, it actually gets stronger and stronger, like more and more over time. But also, he makes his own clones stronger, and each of his clones makes the others slightly stronger. So, the more shadow clones he uses, / god-style clones, even stronger, even if the clones don't do anything. So, right now, he has like 5 times his normal speed and physical strength, plus his clones. So, pretty strong. Menma immediately asked Haku out since he thought she was pretty, but she declined, since the only person she had eyes for was either Zabuza, however, he was rather older than her, or now, Naruto, He was powerful, good looking, and smart. Everything that she liked. And he made a good impression. And after about 10 minutes, they came to an agreement. Shiro, who was on pretty good terms with Mito and the rest of the village, would put in a good word for them, and say that Haku and Zabuza, whilst they do have a negative background, they only did it for money, and they are pretty powerful, and pledged their allegiance to the village. Team 6 and 7 were now returning to the village hidden in the leaves, with Zabuza and Haku on their side. When they arrived, Shiro asked Mito to introduce Zabuza and Haku to the Leaf Village, and he does agree, however, only under certain conditions. Shiro is responsible for any bad actions that Zabuza and Haku take, and they will be watched closely by Anbu and the police. Everyone that was taking part in the mission got paid extra for their hard work, because the mission was harder than expected. And even though the bridge was called the Great Naruto Bridge because he did most of the work and took out Zabuza and Gato and Haku, he was the only one that didn't get paid extra and actually got less than everyone by a lot. He only got about half of what the others got. Now the tuning exams were to begin. On his way to the building, Naruto saw Konohamaru, the third Hokage's grandson, getting bullied by a shinobi that seemed to be from the hidden sand. However, he didn't interfere at all. Actually, he was somewhat happy. He hates the third Hokage, because Hiruzen could have done something against everyone hating Naruto. He could have talked to the villagers, done something good, or even talked to Minato, Naruto's father. But no, he did nothing. If anything, he made everything worse. Naruto truly despised Hiruzen, and he hated Konohamaru too, who always cursed at Naruto whilst the grown villagers were beating him up for absolutely no reason, other than him just existing. Naruto was happy that Konohamaru finally got to see what it was like all these years growing up, everybody hating him. Now Naruto entered the building for the tuning exams for real, and there he met up with his Team 6 comrade. He quickly saw through the Genjutsu and immediately led his team up to where the real tuning exams were going to begin, and explained to everyone there that they were pretty stupid for not realizing it's Genjutsu, and then walked off without any type of discussion. He seemed to know what he was doing, so Hinata and Shino quickly followed without questioning. Everybody gathered up in the main room where the tuning exams would truly begin, and there they met Kabuto. Kabuto seemed to be an experienced genin, much more knowledgeable and powerful than the others, and he seemed relaxed in comparison to the others who seemed to be getting ready for what seemed like a war. However, his kindness was quickly silenced by the others, and their stares. Not necessarily at Kabuto, but especially at Naruto. All of the shinobi from other villages had heard that was the demon, the Nine-Tails himself, evil reincarnated, the one who destroyed the village and tried to take it over. And then there were his siblings, Menma and Mito, who were quickly making themselves popular in the room. First exam now begins. Naruto knows the answer to 8 of 10 of the questions, and therefore does not need to cheat. Now, the way that this exam works is that the whole team needs to work together, not just some smarty that does the whole thing alone. However, since Naruto expected something similar to this, where they would have to work together in silence, Naruto gave each, Shino and Hinata, some of his chakra to give them a sense of what he's thinking. Not necessarily communicate exactly, but they could get a rough estimation of his feelings and maybe some thoughts. So they were able to work together, and therefore they passed quite easily, although it did seem more complicated than it should. However, then again, they did build their team spirit. Now the second exam begins. Ako jumps through the glass window, and now she introduces herself, tells everyone to run to a certain field, and then she explains the second exam, the Forest of Death. Menma asks a stupid question, and a kunai gets thrown at him by Anko, and then taken back by a weird genin. He seemed a little sus, if you know what I mean. The exam now starts, and everyone goes into the Forest of Death. Naruto leads his team to a left turn, and then stops there for a while. Naruto tries to come up with a plan, with help from Hinata and Shino. He first makes a bunch of clones to surround Team 6 that passively gains strength and speed from Naruto's aura, as well as pay attention for anyone nearby, in case they are attacking them. Then whilst looking further, he senses Team 7 getting ambushed nearby, but he doesn't really want to help them since he doesn't really care. He only wants to win for himself and for his team, so he doesn't mind that. Then he searches for a weak team nearby to get their own scroll, but he doesn't have to search for long since a team approaches them. This team has no chance. It's from the hidden cloud, but is rather weak. They're gaining about the strength of the standard canon Naruto Team 7, which is not very strong. So, this Team 6 destroys them. With Naruto's clones, Hinata's Byakugan, and Shino's bugs, the other team has no chance. So, Team 6 gets the scroll right after the bat, and run towards the tower as fast as possible. They get there second at the tower, which surprises most people there, even their own sensei, Kurenai, who was sealed in the scroll. The only one first that came before Team 6 was the same team that bullied Konohamaru on the streets from the hidden sand. One of their members especially, the red-haired one, seemed dangerous, ominous. Kurama inside Naruto's head said that he was the one-tailed Jinchuriki, whilst Naruto was the nine-tails, which makes Naruto superior. However, that doesn't mean you should underestimate Gara. Gara is still very powerful, and the problem is he can't control his tail beast, which means that the first one tail can go rampage at any point in time if it feels like it. And Shukaku is amongst the craziest of the tail beast. If he truly felt like it, he wouldn't bat an eye about destroying Konoha, and there would be almost no one to stop him, except for perhaps Minato. But if Shukaku and Kurama were to work together and destroy the village at the same time, there is no one that could stop them. Meanwhile, in Gara's head, Shukaku is screaming about the presence of the Nine-Tails, Shukaku's all-time rival. And whilst they did have a brotherly bond, they also had some form of hatred to each other, especially Shukaku to Kurama. Team 6 and the Hidden Sand Village team had a while to relax. About 3 days, 27 hours almost, till the exams completely closed. They saw one team after the other finish after them, and all of them were surprised that the Demons team came in second, and the Hidden Sands Demon team came in first. The demons working together? Some of them were saying. This is just a formula for disaster. We should kill them both. However, of course, not directly to their faces. Shiro, when learning that Naruto's team was so good, was very happy. Especially to hear that Naruto did a lot of the work, came up with strategies and so on. And of course, that they also passed the first exam, though that was pretty self-explanatory in her mind. What's going on with Menma? Naruto asked Shiro. Right before talking to each other, Naruto had seen that Menma had a weird mark on his neck, and was acting different. He wasn't so loud and obnoxious as usual, he was more relaxed, more calm, but also seemed depressed for some reason. It was very unlike him, and whilst Naruto doesn't worry about him, he is interested to know what happened. But Shiro was pretty sad to say, not really sad, but she was sad to say still, that Menma had gotten something called a curse mark, which she could technically remove, not completely, but almost completely remove, but she wasn't going to say that for now. Because, well, what's the fun in that? Menma deserved a little punishment, a little suffering, don't you think? Shiro asked Naruto, and he nodded. They both agreed that Menma was a terrible person and did deserve something bad to happen. Though of course at some point they would resolve the curse mark, since they can't let him suffer for years on end, and perhaps fall to the dark side. Now the preliminary rounds of the Chunin exams begin. The first round was Sasuke versus Shino, and while Sasuke did now unlock the first Shomoi of the Sharingan, he didn't have a chance against Shino. Shino was brutal and strong, the heir to the Abirami clan. Sasuke was no match and therefore lost this battle. Now it was Mito versus Hinata. Now this would have normally been a pretty equal fight, but Hinata still had some strength from Naruto's aura, which they had from the last fight, and in the last few days they had spent more time together, and she did pick up some of his chakra and strength as you would normally, and therefore she does have, even if just a slight one, she does have an advantage. And especially by using her Byakugan with more chakra and control, she does win this match. And now it was an unexpected match. Menma versus Naruto. The only reason Menma was happy about this is to show everyone that Naruto is garbage. He's the devil. So he went down the stairs with a smirk. But Naruto also had a smile on his face. "This is the day I got revenge," is what I'll write in my notebook. "Hear this before I defeat you, Menma. This will be the last day you look down on me. Is that clear? Because all those days of bullying me, hitting me, and cursing at me will be over, and you will be the one that's gonna be punished, suffering in hell, whilst I am on the track to become the most powerful shinobi to ever exist. Is that clear?" Naruto shouted across the room. And some people, including Hinata, actually started to believe him. Now, Kurenai is a little bit different. Now, at the beginning, she did hate Naruto quite a bit, and she still does, but less than before. She's seen that he's pretty powerful, pretty smart, and is interested in his skills. Definitely interested. I wouldn't say she likes him or is neutral, but she is interested in what he can become. And with that, the fight between Menma and Naruto, two former brothers, now begins. Naruto immediately made 7 clones without even having to use a hand seal. Everybody looked in awe, and Shiro knew this was gonna be a good day. All the clones also had a smirk on their face, for they knew Menma had no chance. Menma tried to fire up a Rasengan that he had been practicing a little bit with his father, and could actually do sometimes. Not very powerful, but he was able to do it, which impressed a lot of Genin, especially for his age. However, even if he hit Naruto himself, the real one, that little Rasengan wasn't gonna do anything. The real Naruto had 2 kunai in his hands, and the other ones were gonna fight with fists and jutsus. That's all they needed. Naruto could feel himself getting stronger and stronger, and Kurama actually allowed him to get some of his chakra. Because Naruto was about to destroy Menma, and Kurama was all in for it. Since making Naruto happy was something pretty good. Naruto, with all this adrenaline, started to get a red bubbly chakra, and Minato recognized this from anywhere. He almost wanted to stop the match, though still had faith that Menma could defeat Naruto and show once and for all that Naruto is inferior to his older siblings. The children of prophecy were gonna destroy the demon and then save the world. That is what Minato truly believed in. Naruto made a semicircle with his clones, and they all attacked from 180 degrees various of angles. Menma hit one of them with a Rasengan, which knocked him back slightly, then tried to use his fists to block some of the hits. However, he was barely holding on, and this wasn't even with the real Naruto fighting along. It was now clear that Minato was overestimating Menma and underestimating Naruto. Menma had no chance. And then Naruto began this. is where the true fun begins. Naruto called off all of his clones and then went one-on-one with Menma and annihilated him. He hit one kunai after the other, scraped Menma's skin, hit him in the face, kneed him in the stomach, and threw him to the ground. And after only about 30 seconds, Menma was knocked out of commission. Naruto won this match by a landslide. Naruto had proven to be much stronger than Menma, who had been believed to be the child of prophecy. Now more people started to think that Mito was the child of prophecy, since she was more skilled than Menma, but no one really thought that Naruto was the child of prophecy. No one changed their minds about hating Naruto, they just changed minds about who to like, not who to hate. So now all of Team 6 is going into the finals and all of Team 7 is gone. They lost. Shiro was happy that Naruto's team was destroying the others and all got through, but was kind of embarrassed for her own team that they were doing so badly, because of course she would be a symbol for her team. However, she could easily recover. After a few months, that whole thing would probably be forgotten, so she just became a normal Jonin. Nobody would forget that she is a good teacher and she is very powerful. Now, after the other fights continued, finally Naruto announced that the preliminary rounds between the second and the third, which is the final round, have now concluded. These were the contestants for the finals. Standing in front of them was Minato and Hiruzen. They drew names of who their first fight was gonna be in the finals of the Chunin exams, which would happen 1 month after the preliminary rounds, where they would have a grace period for training. And for some odd reason, Naruto got the unluckiest pick. He picked Shino Abirami, the heir to the Abirami clan, but also not just a powerful shinobi and a powerful genin, a very promising genin, but also somebody from his own team. Shino didn't really have a problem with fighting Naruto, though he did now see that he is much powerful than he guessed, and he would actually have to take this training pretty seriously, and Naruto would definitely take this training to heart. He immediately went to Shiro right after the ceremony was finished and asked her if they could train, and she obviously agreed, since she didn't want to train with Menma, Mito, or Sasuke. Shino trained with his clan, especially with the control of bugs, and Hinata trained, of course, with her clan and Neji. However, she did occasionally also go to Naruto and Shiro to ask Shiro for some chakra control tips, but she didn't mind seeing Naruto. By the way, right now, Zabuza and Haku are doing about B-rank missions for the Leaf Village, and are not really doing anything much.
The finals of the Chunin exam now begin. All of the genin desperately fighting to become Chunin, as well as the audience members and some of the more experienced shinobi, all enter the arena to see the match is for today. The first match is announced to be Naruto versus Shino Abirami. They first face off, stare at each other with a serious face, and then the battle begins. He decides not to make any God-style clones, and instead fight one-on-one in a fair fight. So instead, he powers up with the Nine-Tailed Chakra, and gets incredible speed and physical strength. The audience members are a little bit frightened, and now see that he truly is a demon, a devil. Naruto went in, and with one quick dash, he was already in front of Shino. He punched him in the stomach. Shino was knocked back a little, and then deployed his bugs quickly right after. Naruto had tried to dodge each bug, but wasn't quite able to. So when he got the time, Naruto powered up even more, now using about 2 tails worth of the Nine-Tailed Chakra. At this point, Naruto is so incredibly fast, Shino can barely even see him. And suddenly, Naruto is right in front of Shino, and knees him in the stomach. And then, Before Shino could do anything to stop him, Naruto uppercuts Shino right to the chin. With that, Shino is knocked out and Naruto wins this match. Now, the second match is Hinata Hyuga versus Gara of the Sand. This is truly an unlucky match for Hinata. She had seen how strong Gara is in his fight against Lee, and she thought that Lee was already very powerful, so she didn't know what she was going to do against Gara. However, perhaps with her Byakugan she could have a chance. But she still was pretty scared. Gara was strong and very brutal, as seen in the match with Lee, where Gara was the only one of all the genin that truly had killing intent. The match begins, and right in the beginning, Hinata Hyuga turns on her Byakugan. However, Gara was not having any of it, and used the sand to attack Hinata immediately. The sand tried to grab Hinata's legs, but she jumped back quick enough. The sand followed her, and they seemed to be playing a game of catch. Hinata tried to think and jump or run around the sand to strike Gara from the side, but that didn't work. More sand came out from Gara and pushed Hinata to the ground. Gara was about to take care of Hinata, but right after that, the match was stopped and Gara was deemed the victor. Hinata was sad that she lost, but pretty happy that she didn't get hurt by Gara, since, once again, she did see how powerful Gara truly was, and what he was willing to do to win. And since they were fighting in the same bracket, after defeating Hinata, Gara would go on to fight Naruto in the second round of the finals. We now skip to that very point. Gara and Naruto facing off, both tailed beasts going wild. Shukaku thinking if he should destroy the village right there now, perhaps talk to Kurama instead. Whilst they didn't like each other, they hadn't talked for many decades now. Basically ever since Hashirama captured all the tailed beasts. And Kurama was much more relaxed. And he didn't like Shukaku either, but he was actually willing to cooperate, perhaps talk, and wait it out. For now, Gara and Naruto both were about to start using their tailed beast chakra. Naruto more controlled, but Gara more berserk mode. Gara was about to go on a rampage, whilst Naruto was going to try to contain it. However, they started fighting unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. There was 3 fights going on at the same time, one between Naruto and Gara, the other between Shukaku and Kurama, and the final one between all 4 of them in their heads, against each other. However, the Leaf Village audience could only see one of the fights, which was the physical one. In the midst of battle, Kurama tried to reach out to Shukaku, talk to him, make him calm down his Jinchuriki. But at this point, it was too late. Gara was half tailed beast form now. He was completely going crazy. He was wild. At this point, Minato thought of stepping in, for this could hurt civilians. But he just wanted to wait till Naruto gets hit with a tailed beast, and perhaps fall into a coma or something like that, which he deserved as a tailed beast, as a devil. And then perhaps he could save the civilians. But for now, he was gonna wait. Gara's siblings, Tamari and Kankuro, readied themselves to step in and save their little brother. They jump in, but it's too late. Shukaku is now in full form, present in the arena, and is now destroying the stadium, as well as trying to hurt the people inside, which is why they're quickly evacuating the whole building and everything around it. Minato is about to head into battle, for he needs to protect his village as a Hokage. But Naruto is going in too, and Minato thinks to himself that the 2 demons could fight each other, and so at least one of them could die. It's less work for Minato, since he wants both of them dead, especially Naruto. So they start fighting, and Naruto is now using about 4 tails worth of the 9 tails chakra. However, still controlled, unlike Shukaku, who is now completely controlling Gara's body. Kurama tried to stop and talk to Shukaku, and he was somewhat able to talk to him. Kurama tried to convince Shukaku that they could flee the villages and live on their own with their Jinchurikis for a very long time, live in peace, perhaps with the other tailed beasts. And Shukaku thought about it. He actually thought it was a good idea. So without thinking twice, Shukaku made Gara turn around and run. Run away from the village. Not to the sand, but anywhere. Run away. And slowly but surely, the giant Shukaku form seemed to lose sand, get smaller and smaller, until it was nowhere to be seen. Kurama was happy and then told Naruto what he said to Shukaku. Live together with tailed beasts, huh? Interesting. I mean, it wouldn't be as toxic as with the villagers here, so it could actually be pretty fun. So Naruto decided to search for Shiro, and he found her very easily. Since she didn't even leave the stadium, she was just watching Naruto and Shukaku fight. So Shiro flew up to Naruto's level, and they talked for a while. Not a while, very short actually. Naruto told her that she should stay in the village, but Naruto would be gone for a while, away from all the toxic villagers, and with some of his people. Well, not his people, but other Jinchurikis like him, and with other tailed beasts perhaps. And whilst it was sad for her, she agreed, because she knew that someday she and Naruto could live together, happily ever after. So for now, Naruto and Kurama left, as quick as a flash. But Minato didn't care. He didn't want to hunt them down, he didn't want to hunt the one-taileds down. He just wanted to have them gone, so Naruto leaving one of his own was the best thing that could have happened. And this whole incident could be blamed on Naruto since he was not there anymore, so that was extra good for Minato. And it was even there to up his reputation as the one who saved the village from two-tailed beasts. At least that's what the public was told. So Naruto slowly was catching up to Gara, and then Gara in front of him passed out from all the stress that was put on him of his tailed beast. And then when Gara woke up, he felt completely different. Naruto was making a campfire, and it was already the evening. However, before that happens, I need to have a flashback of what happened before Naruto left Konoha. Whilst everyone was busy looking at Naruto and Shukaku, two-tailed beasts, fighting, what wasn't seen or heard was Orochimaru and his forces infiltrating Konoha, and using Gara and his tailed beasts going crazy as a distraction. The village and some of its buildings were destroyed. Some villagers even came to harm, and Minato could be the one to blame, since everyone knows that Minato is probably stronger than Orochimaru, and so Minato could have done something, as well as the other shinobi, who were just staring at the two-tailed beast in the stadium. These also included Tsunade and Jiraiya, two of the strongest in the village. However, as soon as that happened, that being Shukaku and then afterwards Naruto leaving the village and leaving it in chaos, Orochimaru quickly left too, without leaving a trace. Him and his fellow criminals, as they were afterwards dubbed, left, and the village left in ruins. Now we cut back to Naruto making a campfire, whilst Gara is just waking up, feeling different, a different kind of sensation. That is because Naruto adjusted the seal on Gara's stomach. For now, he has a kind of peaceful deal, where it's like 50-50, whilst before Shukaku had about 80% of the control of Gara's body. Now Gara could actually sleep, he could actually have some quiet, and with time, the seal could even become even more towards Gara's side, rather than a 50-50, it could perhaps be a 70-30, where Gara is the leading force. However, for now, 50-50 was the best Naruto could do, but that already was a huge difference. Gara had a whole new attitude, he was kind. Well, kinder. He had normal conversations with Naruto about how both of them were neglected as humans and treated as devils, tailed beasts themselves, and demons for all their lives by everybody, including even their own families. So now their missions would be to find others like them, especially Jinchurikis, who have been neglected their whole lives, and then they could live together in harmony and peace for once in their lives. Tailed beasts have been mistreated for decades, even centuries, and now Naruto was gonna do something about it. First, Naruto and Gara would head to Kumogakure, in the land of lightning. The village hidden in the clouds was a very powerful one, and housed 2 Jinchuriki, one of the 2 tails and one of the 8 tails. However, when they arrived, they struggled to learn that the 2 Jinchuriki weren't treated as bad as Gara and Naruto have. Whilst they weren't treated very well, they were treated much better than themselves. Especially Killer B, the older one, who was treated as a quite powerful shinobi. They both found Naruto's idea of going away and just living with other Jinchuriki pretty amusing, pretty good, and they did think about it, but then at the end said that for now they would stay in their respective villages, but they might join up later, if they're still allowed, and of course Naruto allowed them to. So Naruto and Gara moved on to the land of Waterfall. Here they met Fu, the Jinchuriki of the 7 Tails. She had lived in isolation. Not quite isolation, but she was rather alone for quite a while, so she was actually willing to join Naruto and Gara's group. Then they went to the land of Mist. Yagura Karatachi, the Jinchuriki of the 3 Tails, as well as Utakata, who was the Jinchuriki of the 6 Tails, Saiken. The 2 were pretty early to say they were definitely going to join Naruto's group. They were pretty bored of their normal lives, and so didn't really care. So yeah, they just joined up with Naruto. Then they went to the Stone Village. The village hidden in stone, where they found Roshi and Han, the Jinchuriki respective for Son Goku, the 4 Tails, and Kokuo, the 5 Tails. Whilst Han did agree to join Naruto's group, Roshi did not. He was almost at the end of his life. He was already rather old, and therefore did not want a change of scenery. And he had come accustomed to his life as a Jinchuriki, and wanted to give it up to his next generation. So he left and stayed at the village. Naruto, Gara, Fu, Han, Utakata, and Yagura left their villages to make a new one, to make a new way of life. For those Jinchuriki would live on for future generations, to not hate each other for what they have been put into, for the way they've been born, to love each other just because they are who they are. After about a week of camping in the woods together, coming up with strategies to build homes or find somewhere that they could live long term, they were approached by a man and a woman. These wore 2 similar kind of jackets that actually resembled more of coats with red clouds on them. These were 2 of the Akatsuki, Pain and Conan. Whilst Pain did want to collect all the tailed beasts, and they were well enough all there in one place, for now he just wanted to talk. What is it that you're doing? We just want to live here, man. Please just leave us, and we won't hurt you either, Naruto said. Hurt me? That's funny. There's no way any of you could harm me. I am a god amongst humans. Oh yeah? Naruto said. And in an instant, Naruto was standing behind Pain. The reason he was able to do this is because Naruto had about 50 god-style clones around their camp, powering each other up and the other tailed beasts and their Jinchurikis in case an intruder came. Just a situation like this. So what are we gonna talk about? Huh? Naruto asked. You're fast. I like it. So, I have a question for you then. I can sense you're powerful, so do you want to join our organization? Whilst you are a tailed beast, we could fix that. We could take the 9 tails out of you and make you a regular human. And I can even do it so you stay alive. What do you say? I respectfully decline, but thank you. Now do you want to tell me who exactly you are? Now Naruto had a kunai on Pain's neck. Neither Conan nor Pain were actually that worried, since Pain is just one of Nagato's dolls, dead bodies that he's controlling. So even if Naruto killed Pain, it's not a huge deal, since the real Nagato is somewhere else. I'll take the talking from here, Conan said. We just wanna use the tailed beasts to make a dreamlike world. A world so fantastic, no one has to suffer. Similar to how you wouldn't have to go to this extent to finally get some recognition as Jinchuriki and actual humans. You could live in peace in your respective villages, and no one would harm you. Wouldn't that be incredible? Conan asked. Well, that would be good. I can see that you have alternative motives. And I can see that you too are sad, especially you, woman, Naruto said. So perhaps you two are the ones that want to join our organization. Would that be correct? Naruto asked. Well, that does sound interesting, Conan said. Well, first, let me introduce ourselves. I am Conan, and this is my comrade, Pain, or his real name is Nagato. However, this is not his real body. I can explain at a different time, but for now, that's not important. Naruto and Conan talk in more detail in a tent for about 10 minutes, and then they both come out. Conan says, we have decided to leave our organization and live with you two, since you suit our lifestyle much more than the ones we're currently following. And we'll even help you fight against those we were helping even just a few days ago, since they are trying to kill you guys and take your tailed beasts without rescuing and reviving you afterwards, which would neither be in your nor our interest. So for now, let's work and live together. Yeah? Conan smiled. Nagato slowly creeped towards the tent, and the real Pain's body seemed to faint or even die. He didn't have a pulse at the beginning, but now he seemed dead. And then the real Nagato came in to the kind of semicircle that everyone was talking in. Nagato, what are you doing here? Conan asked. So this is the real you, huh? Not as menacing as I thought, Naruto said. Well. That isn't the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails. You don't look so good. Maybe I can help you. I can use some medical ninjutsu if you want, Naruto asked. Well, that would be great, but I don't think you can do anything against this. This is because I used a forbidden technique that has some minor setbacks to it. So I don't think you can do anything about it. But if you can, I'd love it, thank you. And Naruto was actually able to help. So now Nagato was completely impressed and dumbfounded by Naruto's powers. Whilst Nagato wasn't completely recovered, he was doing much better. He hadn't felt this good since before he used the forbidden Rinnegan abilities. Now Nagato and Naruto were gonna spend the evening to discuss the Akatsuki and how to stop them and save the tailed beasts, as well as harbor Pain and Conan, since they would now basically stand against their own organization, which would probably infuriate everyone in it, though perhaps even discourage some of the members, which would be good. However, Pain also said that whilst he was officially the leader, there was someone else who basically forced him and told him to do everything that he did do. There was someone else with immense power and knowledge. This man called himself Madara Uchiha. No matter, Naruto said, we will crush him too. So on the next day, all of the Jinchuriki, Pain, and Konan set out to the Akatsuki hideout. Here there would be a battle that would last hours. Nah, JK, it only lasts minutes because Naruto is a god. Naruto made about 100 god-style clones and used his Kurama chakra to about 6 taels worth of controlled 9-tailed chakra. And the other Jinchuriki also used as much as possible. And then Pain was able to use more of his Rinnegan ability since now Naruto had healed him to some extent at least. And Konan, well, she would fight to her best. They easily matched out people such as Kisame, who whilst he had a lot of chakra, he had nowhere near that of Jinchuriki, especially not the 9-tailed Jinchuriki, and especially not of a Namikaze Uzumaki mix. Naruto was truly a force to be reckoned with. He had so much chakra, it's unthinkable. Hidan and Kakuzu were just annoying to deal with. Hidan always came back no matter what happened, and Kakuzu, well, they first had to find Kakuzu's weakness, but then he was pretty easy. And so they fought him too. And they put Hidan under a type of Genjutsu with Pain's Rinnegan, where Hidan would basically sleep forever until they stopped it. Since they couldn't kill Hidan, this was the only way to not have him constantly fight the Jinchuriki and Pain and Konan. And then came the end boss, Tobi, or now as he was called, Uchiha Madara, the one who created the Akatsuki in the shadows and controlled all the little pieces for his own well-being and amusement. The one with the Sharingan and the mask concealing his true face. Naruto said, I got this one. And so he went in with all the God-style clones, and they did their thing. They powered each other up like crazy, and Naruto, with his skills and intellect, was able to push Obito into a corner. Naruto used some lightning-style jutsu to try to shock Obito into losing his will of fighting. However, that backfired and made Obito even angrier. But it was at that point where Obito threw his mask to the ground for everyone to truly see who he was. But no one recognized him. They only knew that this was not the face of Madara Uchiha. Obito tried to put Naruto under Genjutsu, but that did not work. Naruto had built up kind of an immune system against certain types of jutsus, and it was this very thing that made him immune to poison and venom from certain insects, such as the one that Menma and Mito put on him as a little kid. Naruto builds up not just a resistance, but a complete immunity against things that he had seen more than like 5 times, or if it was once, for longer than a few days. But now, powered up, he could even be resistant against things that he'd never seen before, and only experienced for mere seconds, which made him completely immune to any type of Genjutsu. The fight continues, and Naruto is now beating Obito, and winning quite easily. Obito has no chance anymore, and surrenders. Zetsu, watching from the corner, is pissed. This is what it will come to? A child beating his entire group, and Obito riling up most of the Jinchuriki, as well as Nagato and Konan, the founders of the Akatsuki. What has the world come to? And who does this boy think he is? I'll stop this myself! And at this point, Black Zetsu released kind of otsutsuki chakra, which he had saved up from Kaguya. Since he did have a connection to her, he gained some chakra of her, which is quite powerful and therefore is actually somewhat of a fighter. Now, Zetsu was the only thing standing in front of Naruto and the peace he longed for so long. Now, Naruto was truly angry and wanted to show the world what he can do, but mostly show himself that he was worthy of peace and quiet. So without much hustle, Naruto absolutely annihilated Black Zetsu and destroyed him from the face of the earth. And with that, the Otsutsuki legacy on Earth was stopped, never to be continued. So Otsutsuki Kaguya would forever be in the moon, sealed up, as she deserved. Naruto and his crew could now live happily ever after. But before that, Naruto had something else planned. He talked to Nagato a little more, and Nagato was actually willing to give Naruto one of his eyes, one of the Rinnegan, which would be perfect for Naruto and his future plans. Naruto accepted and in return gave one of his eyes to Nagato. The procedure was done, and then Naruto the next day went back to Konoha, not as a guest or villager, but as an enemy to the state and village. Naruto's plans were to destroy Konoha, to destroy everything that had bothered him for so many years. Naruto flew up to the sky, looking down on the village, seemingly as a god, looking down on his creation, and thinking that it was a mistake. And so, Naruto eradicated the mistake. He let down ginormous meteors, and then when Minato tried to jump up and get to Naruto and fight him, Naruto used his eye, his newly found eye, to push away Minato, to make a kind of force field around him, since Naruto had immense chakra and fighting will. And then, for the final straw, Naruto used the Shinra Tensei, the almighty push, to destroy the rest of Konoha that was left. So now, most of the civilians were dead. Even most of the younger and unexperienced shinobi were dead. The will of fire was broken, and the Hokage faces were ripped in half. Now, Naruto could truly rest. So Naruto went back to his crew and friends. And then, after about a few years, the other Jinchuriki joined up, even Roshi. So now, the 9 tailed beasts and their Jinchuriki lived happily ever after, as well as Pain and Nagato. Now, Nagato actually kind of killing off Pain, since he didn't need to fight, and he didn't need Pain anymore, since Naruto had helped Nagato get back to health, as well as, of course, Konoha. Gara had now an incredible seal, and Naruto gave it to all of the other Jinchuriki, to where the tailed beasts would be friendlier than before, even though now all the tailed beasts were friendly. As well as they could not necessarily control or abuse the tailed beasts, but the tailed beasts couldn't control or abuse their Jinchuriki. Of course, after Konoha was destroyed, Shiro quickly met up with Naruto, and they got together as girlfriend and boyfriend, and a few years after that, got married. And they even had some kids. And the other Jinchuriki also got together and had some kids. Now, Naruto and his crew did actually invite some of their closer friends to join their motley crew, since they had now built some houses and were independent from any other village or place. And so, Naruto created his own kind of village, where everyone was loved for whoever they were, if demon or not, Jinchuriki or not, and even the tailed beasts were praised. So year after year, the village grew, and one day, it would finally be what Konoha could never achieve: a loving space for everybody of any clan, race, gender, or if they were a Jinchuriki or not. Everyone was loved for who they were. The end. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. This was a little bit of a different story, but I hope you enjoyed. See ya.